Ready Set Podcast. That's my catchphrase exclusively.
Son of a bitch.
Trademarked.
You'll be hearing from Jordan.
Yeah, it's nice to have a friend that could just write legal documents about whatever petty squabble you're in.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's get into it. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast yet, so it'll either be, once again, Ready Set Podcast, or something along the lines of Welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt. This is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week, we'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This week, continuing our whole month on James Cameron. That's right, it's Big Jim Winter. It's Aliens.
Big Jim.
The 1986, right? 86 follow-up to Ridley Scott's Alien, which we did over a year ago with a couple of us here, Scott's Tots. It's Robbie and Will. Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Yourself?
Pretty good.
Hola.
And then Noah's also along for the ride this time.
Hey.
It's just like between Alien and Aliens, they add a bunch of Colonial Marines. Noah is our Colonial Marine that's being added for this episode.
Vasquez in particular.
R.I.P. Ooh, spoilers.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, if you clicked on this episode, hopefully you've watched that movie that's almost 40 years old. If not,
is it okay to spoil it? Is that within the?
As always, it's always fine. But as you know, you can't swear on this episode on this podcast. So
Canceled.
Oh no, you cut that.
Canceled. I love this movie a lot, so I want to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about it. But first, we have to do our homework and talk about anything good any of us have seen recently. I know for a fact that Noah's been to the movies at least once in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's the only movie I've seen besides Aliens recently. Yeah, went to see Infinity Pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Ben, and it was an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had fun.
Yeah, it was good. If you like Barbarian, you're gonna like Infinity Pool.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So some similar themes.
Yeah, one in particular. But yeah.
It's just it's what horror movie makers are just obsessed with now is that one thing apparently.
Yeah. Should I mention it or let the people find out?
No.
Yeah. Well, if you see the movie, you'll
know.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I've actually watched anything noteworthy. I mean, I've watched The Banshees of Inisherin.
It's pretty noteworthy.
Yeah, but we're probably going to talk about that on the Oscar episode.
Yeah,
so
we
I
are.
don't wanna go
We definitely are.
too far into that. I've just been watching New Girl again.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I haven't watched a whole lot lately. I feel like I've just been watching whatever run on TV shows, just in the background as noise.
That's fine. You watched Aliens at least, so that's,
I
that's
did
all
watch
that's
that.
required.
Finished it up last night.
Nice. I finished it this morning, so it's all fine.
Same.
Yeah, same actually.
I was just so tired because I recorded the True Lies episode after whatever that you guys won't hear that till next week, but still, I've been watching some stuff. It's been good, but I think I already covered it on the True Lies episode, so I'll mention. You guys know this movie that Warren Beatty made in 1990, Dick Tracy, an adaptation of the Dick Tracy comic from like the 40s and 30s.
I've never seen it. I just have very clear memories of it showing up on TV all the time and my 11-year-old self chuckling every single time.
It looks weird, but in 1990, I guess now basically retired, but former huge A-list leading man Warren Beatty made an adaptation of Dick Tracy. He turned it into like a musical comedy. People were confused. But I think it did pretty well. But he's essentially retired now, except for every 12 years or so, he has to make something with Dick Tracy or he loses the rights to it. So as we're recording this, last night he released another Dick Tracy special called Dick Tracy Zooms In. And this is going to shock you, but it's him in costume over Zoom. And it aired on the Turner Classic Movies channel last night with basically no warning. Some bloggers just noticed that there was like an entry on the upcoming TCM calendar for this thing. They asked, like, is this a new Dick Tracy special so Warren Beatty doesn't lose the rights? And it is. So it's him in person being interviewed by Ben Mankiewicz and Leonard Maltin, to movie historian and critics. He's in character criticizing the Warren Beatty movie, and that's what this special is about.
Fantastic.
And then Warren Beatty also appears as himself. But he gets to keep the rights. I think only for a few more years before it's in public domain, but just in case he accidentally makes a movie between then and now, he gets to keep the rights, I guess.
The next movie is going to be about Dick Tracy keeping the rights to Dick Tracy.
It gets super like meta.
Yeah, but well, hey, if you're a big Dick Tracy fan, that's a new one for you. There also just came out yesterday or the day before for Valentine's Day is the Harley Quinn special on HBO Max. That is a special. Yeah. It's in between seasons of the animated Harley Quinn show. That's really good. And that's also out now. I thought it was really good. It's good. Funny.
Oh, I've been watching The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Same, actually.
I feel like everybody here has been watching that.
Oh no, I'm waiting for it to fully come out.
Oh,
I want to just binge watch it.
Netflix has ruined you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 5 episodes out, so you could do like the first half. It's only 10 episode seasons?
9.
9? So yeah, more than half.
I
Why
guess.
9? Couldn't have given us 10.
No.
9.
9.
Nine.
Get out.
What do you guys?
Oh wait, you're driving my ride.
I mean, that's the big thing that's happening right now in visual media. I guess I was going to say movies, but it's on TV. What have you guys thought of The Last of Us so far?
I've loved it. As a person that hasn't played the game too, so most of the things are a surprise to me. I know the very ending, unfortunately, but the rest of it I've enjoyed.
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been very true to the game. It's but where it's deviated, I think they've made great decisions. They haven't taken any like major, deviations. This last episode a little bit, but that's fine.
I didn't watch the one that came out yesterday yet.
Not that one, sorry.
The one for the previous, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the comparisons between the two.
Mm-hmm. Pedro Pascal's good. He's getting typecast as a guy that's got a little buddy. So that's
really like that
interesting.
meme.
Honestly, he can just do whatever he wants. He's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. He's wonderful in this. It's nice he's not wearing a helmet the whole time.
Mm.
You can see his face. All right, do we want to switch gears into and just so you guys know, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie is really good. I liked it a lot. Knock at the Cabin. Fun times.
Ooh.
But I talk about that more in the other episode we recorded. So I'm not gonna. Big Jim Winter. Time to talk about aliens.
Does he call himself that?
Big Jim. I don't think he does.
Just close friends.
He says he has an affinity for wearing a specific hat, especially early in production on his movies, that says HMFIC, which stands for Head Motherfucker in Charge.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But
like a
people
big
call him Big Jim.
Okay.
This is, of course, a cousin kind of sideways sequel spinoff from our last July's theme of Big Steve Summer, this being Big Jim Winter. Except in this case, people actually do call him Big Jim. No one calls Steven Spielberg Big Steve.
Oh, I legitimately thought you just called him Big Jim. I didn't realize that was actually like a...
Yeah, some people do.
Okay.
I don't think like to him, but people say that.
Sup, Big Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that. I think it would be uncomfortable for both sides in that in that exchange.
Oh, I need to meet him now.
Me too. Yeah.
You can
What
be on
up?
the podcast.
What up, Big Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably wants to be on the podcast. He's
No,
got time. He lives in New Zealand pretty much exclusively now. He's vegan.
Is he from New Zealand?
He's from Canada.
Okay, close enough.
And yeah. Well, let's talk about aliens. People care more about that. So this is a little bit, I'm not going to say it doesn't count for the podcast because there's reasons it counts, but we've all seen this movie before. I had never seen the special edition, and Robbie, until somewhat recently, hadn't seen this movie.
I binged it after I did the first episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
So. To be fair, after that episode, I went into like the cryogenic sleep thing for a while, and they
Yeah.
just woke me up
Yeah,
now.
you're
so
60 years later,
It's,
and your daughter died.
it's very thematic.
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't seen the special edition before. There's about 20 extra minutes in there and some different plot points and stuff. So I'll talk about that as we get to it. How about you guys? You like this movie? Seen it before?
Oh yeah, I've watched it a bunch. It's been a while since I've seen it. Probably like a good handful of years.
Yeah.
And there were like definitely parts I was like, oh, I forgot this even happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie. My sisters are about like 10 to 13 years ahead of me. So when I was growing up, when I was younger, this Terminator 2 and The Crow were like the big movies that we'd watch all the
nice.
time. Yeah. So
That's a good mix.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a good mix.
I've actually never seen The Crow.
We'll do it eventually.
All right.
I hope so.
I feel like it doesn't hit as well now, but at the time it was like a really cool movie.
Yeah.
I've heard about it a lot, and there's been like jokes on sitcoms where it's like only one of us can dress up as the Crow this year. Apparently it had a huge...
South Park. I think they did that. Yeah. Probably other shows too. Yeah.
Who wants to give us a 1-minute plot summary for the? Sorry, I wasn't even talking to the mic. Who wants to give us a 1-minute plot summary for Aliens?
All right, I can do it. Everyone's looking at me.
This is the way my face faces.
See, this is why you don't put Robbie in a corner.
It's not that corner.
So aliens. Ripley ship is found. People are all pumped. They're like, we're gonna salvage the ship. And they're like, oh no, we can't salvage it. There's a person in it. So they take her back to Earth, and she's like, oh my God, what happened? They're like, we don't know what happened. And she tells them, and they're like, oh, you're stupid. You're dumb. Just like you were in the first movie. You're such an idiot. Aliens aren't real. Dumbass. We blew up a ship. And then they make her go work on the docks or some shit. And they're like, all right, real talk. We can't find the colony. There might be something wrong in that place. She told us there was things wrong. And she's like, no shit. Cause I'm Ripley. And that's how this goes. So they go there, can't find anyone. Little girl crawling around on the vents. And they're like, gotta find the people. What's going on? Find the aliens. Aliens start attacking. They're like, this is bad, but where are the people? And then they go and they're like, all the people are down in this one specific area. That's not weird at all. So they go and they go to find them. It's where all the aliens took them to make more aliens. A ton of aliens. They're like, shoot them. They're like, wait, no. We can't shoot them. We brought mini nukes and above a big nuke, and that would be a big problem. Terrible. So they don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. Ripley fights an alien. They barely make it off the planet, and they go back to sleep. The movie ends. Yeah,
you did it.
Great.
You done?
All right, that's it. Let's.
Good podcast. Good podcast.
Yeah,
like I skipped a little bit of the middle there, but there wasn't really much more than that. I mean, Ripley gets betrayed by the douchebag dude.
Oh yeah, Burke.
Yeah, discount Michael J. Fox, Charlie Sheen. Discount Charlie Sheen.
Oh, shots fired at Paul Reiser.
I could see that.
Okay.
I thought he had a really good performance.
Paul Reiser had a huge, long career in sitcoms, and now you can see him in Stranger Things.
He had one of those faces where I was like, oh, you look super familiar. And I was like, no, he's not Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Well, you watch Stranger Things, so you could be familiar for that.
Who is he in Stranger Things?
He's the doctor that isn't tall and skinny.
Oh, not the one with the big eyebrows?
I guess he's got pretty big eyebrows. He's like the other
Papa.
one.
He's not Papa?
No. That's the tall and skinny one, Matthew Modine.
Oh, the one that tries to save her. And
yeah,
then
the one that's like cooler.
Whoa, he ages pretty rough.
Well,
it's been 40
It's been a long year. It's been a long time, Robbie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's time. That's a bitch.
The aliens will take a lot out of you, man. A lot of years.
All right, the movie starts. She gets unfrozen with Jones. Well, it's not really freezing. It's more like a medical cryo thing.
Yeah.
Suspended animation.
Yeah. And they are awoken. It's not good, though. Not good. She never actually gets back to Earth, but she gets to like Gateway Station.
Oh, I thought they were on Earth.
They don't quite get back. She's in like a station just above Earth that they repeatedly refer to in the commentary as Gateway Station, though I'm not positive they ever actually say that in the movie.
I don't believe they do.
No, so that must have just been internally what they were calling it. And the intention is she never actually gets back to Earth until she like gets in the atmosphere at the end of the fourth movie, basically, right? But so she gets railroaded. These guys that blame her. I was pausing because I was trying to remember what you said after watching the first one, where you're like, "Oh, are they going to hold her responsible for blowing up the thing?"
And they do.
You wait.
And they did. It was really funny. I was like, "Yeah, the way this is going, they're probably going to be like, this is all your fault. You just blew up a bunch of our money." And they're like, "This is all your fault. You blew up a bunch of our money." And it's like, "Wow, that was."
Yep.
It's like, we got to blame someone. And it's going to be you. There goes your licensing.
There's the great moment where I think it's actually her first scene where she's awake is actually a dream where there's like the fake out chest buster thing.
Yep.
Great way to wake the audience up. Like, let's go. We're into it. And Paul Reiser's there trying to trying to get her to go back to LV-426 per Will shirt.
Classic.
And
Nice bit of foreshadowing there too for when they find the other woman. She also says, "Kill me."
So there's like I said at the beginning, I watched the special edition, which I hadn't seen before. So I'm going to pepper in some of the deleted stuff as we go through it. The scene after the conference room where she's like, "You're going to regret this. We are, there shouldn't be people there because the aliens are going to kill them all." And then like the very next scene, Paul Reiser goes to her apartment and is like, "So there were aliens there. We lost contact with them."
We're not completely convinced it's aliens. It's just that place you told us there was aliens, and now like nobody's answering
it's
their
funny
phone.
in the theatrical version, it's like the scene after, but in the special edition, there's like a long sequence of pre-alien attack Hadley's Hope, which is like the colony on the planet, and you see Newt's family, her brother and her parents, and it's actually her dad's fault because they're just like hanging out and they go to the derelict ship from the first movie.
That's in there.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's only in the special edition.
Oh, maybe I have the special edition.
I had the same thought because I didn't see it this time that I watched it, but I have definitely seen that scene before.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, should we call this in? It's like, nah, let's see what it is first.
Yep. So they use the derelict alien ship from the first movie, which had been, I guess, just collecting rust in someone's driveway. They use the same model. It's because they make this on a pretty low budget. And they have to reuse some stuff, and there's like some tricks that they do to make it look more expensive than it actually was to make. But like all the miniatures and models and stuff. But anyway, it's Newt's dad's fault. He's the one that gets face huggered, and
they're like, let's bring him back.
Yeah, and they bring him back. And
I feel like there should be a lot of protocols, especially seeing they're colonizing places. Be like, just hey, you should be locked up.
Yeah, they should have quarantined or something. But
Literally
it never
anything.
works.
Yeah, didn't they went through that in the first one? I think.
Oh yeah, right.
You can try.
Well,
you
yeah.
can try.
They tried in the first one. They were like, hey, you're not supposed to bring them on board. And then the synthetic was like, no, we're going to bring them on board.
Doing it anyway. I did love that scene too, where the synthetic is like, no, that synthetic. He was all fucked up. I'm good though.
I'm
It's like,
good.
oh yeah, did they?
Yeah, those
did
guys
they
were
make,
glitchy.
They made that one and they were like, yeah, sometimes it's just like murders people. Sometimes
glitchy,
it's just like a glitch. Like I don't know. It's funny to think that like, oh, the first batch of robots they like knew could sometimes be homicidal, but now they've decided that's a problem. We won't allow that to happen.
Do they do the same thing? Prometheus to Alien Covenant, where the new Michael Fassbender's like, don't worry, they figured me out. I'm a better version.
And it's like, just kidding. I'm more self-aware now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm better. Worse.
Yeah. And I think also in Prometheus or Alien Covenant, there's specifically like, don't let that person back on. And someone gets flamethrowered before they can get back on the ship.
Maybe.
Oh, yes.
I forget which one. They kind of blend together for me.
It's
I
been
haven't
a
seen
while.
that
I
movie
want
in
to say
a
that's
while.
Prometheus.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's always an issue of don't bring that person back on the ship. It's like, but we like this person.
Why
Like,
couldn't they have
do
gotten
it.
somebody shitty?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, there's a nice moment where Newt does like a big scream.
Oh god, for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. And but that's all cut out of the theatrical version.
Interesting.
And they go right to Paul Reiser and Ripley's tiny apartment with that other officer guy. And
Gorman.
Yeah.
I like the detail as a special feature. I think thematically, I like it better not having seen that. But I
Mhm.
haven't seen the special. Just hearing
Yeah.
about it, I just feel like for the first time, like not knowing what the fuck happened was a good direction.
Yeah. There's advantages to both. This way you get to know that she had like these were her parents and her brother, and the actress who plays Newt, it was her actual brother in it.
Hmm.
So he just gets cut out of the movie entirely, which must have been awkward.
Family
But
dinners.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're both on the audio commentary too. And he's like, yeah, I'm not in the movie anymore. But anyway, so they keep not any of that in. But so this way you don't see Newt until they find her.
Mm.
And that is more effective in some ways too, I think. And again, I don't mean to direct everything at you, but if I turn my head, I won't be speaking to the mic.
Put Robbie in a corner.
Yeah, it always happens. Yeah, so she says no, but then she has a nightmare, and then she says yes.
Yeah, I think it's more like, oh, hey, I don't want to see this entire colony get wiped off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens anyway, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think a responsibility.
yeah.
Mhm. That was the between James Cameron and Sigourney Weaver, they had different ideas for the motivation. In his mind, this is just a revenge story, but she didn't like that. The way he kind of sold it to her is that she wouldn't want this to happen to other people. And so that's why she's, decides to go back.
Kind of like a closure kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she'll stop having the nightmares if she can do something good for these people.
Yeah. But to him, it's just she has to go back and like murder the queen and burn all the eggs and stuff just to like for her own catharsis, which I guess she wasn't as much a fan of that.
Didn't know about the queen yet.
Yeah, but just to do something.
Yeah, stop them from spreading.
Just general revenge, I guess.
I wasn't clear either. Are there other aliens in this universe at this point? Because they kind of make a comment of like, oh, you hooked up with that like Gamorrean or whatever. And like you didn't even know it was a male or something like that, right? Am I crazy? Did I make that up?
So I think that there are other like species out there,
Yes.
like different aliens, but I think this is like their first like
dangerous
monster
kind
of
of
thing.
alien.
I feel like they don't go into it enough.
They don't. It's interesting because it would give you a whole new perspective on how they're interacting with things if they've already like, oh yeah, we encounter aliens all the time.
And it could also be more of like a different colony names. So it'd be like you were this, and it's just the name of your planet. Maybe.
That's what I was on the fence about. Is like I didn't know if it was just the colony name or if there actually was other aliens, and they didn't seem to be specific.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But they made the comment about the gender thing, so I was like, why would that be specific to that whatever.
Yeah. And then we're off to the Sulaco. There's a couple shots here that they were designed to sort of echo the opening of Alien, where you're just seeing like the corridors and control panels of the ship, just giving you like sort of a sense of place. And with this one, though, you're seeing a lot more weapons because that was a freight ship. Those guys were truckers, basically. But this is not that kind of operation. This is straight up war.
The ship just looks like a big gun.
Yes, it does.
That's all it looks like. It's just one big gun with a bunch of attachments on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then they're off back in space. She leaves Jones, her cat, behind. Or I guess it was sort of the Nostromo's cat. I don't know if anyone actually had ownership of it in the first movie.
No, I think it was just like the cat that was just there. I'm sure it was someone's.
The cat came with the ship. No one questioned it. And,
Standard procedure.
Standard procedure.
Cat.
In case they get mice, they need a cat. There.
Space mice.
Space mice.
Nice.
So you got my mind on space mice now. Yeah. So then the Marines get introduced, right? Around here.
Yeah. Well, everyone wakes up from their sleep, which I feel like for it being a big military ship that they'd have more than like a dozen Marines. Like there's no one else like on the ship afterwards.
It's funny you should say that. Due to their budget, there was only actually 4 pods, and the rest are just mirrors facing each other.
Oh, okay.
There's a mirror in the back wall and a mirror behind the camera. And if you look at the scene where I guess you'd say the screen or whatever, the top of the pod's coming up, you can actually see like the mirroring point. I think it's on Vasquez. There's 2 Vasquezes.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love
So there are only actually 4 actors in that scene.
That makes sense then. I love how the captain wakes up with a cigar in his mouth. Or that's the first thing he does.
Yeah, he gets the cigar. You instantly get like, these guys are characters.
Yeah,
it's very just Space Marine-y.
Yeah.
And it's funny in the audio commentary, James Cameron is like, yeah, if there's any Marines watching, I just want to apologize. I didn't know shit about Marines at the time. These guys are obviously just based on
Starship.
Yeah, like actual Marines are way more disciplined than this. He was basing these guys on like regular Army guys at the end of Vietnam who were completely like jaded and over it. And he based a lot of this on Vietnam. It's about Vietnam. So these like super high tech fighters that just get completely outclassed by on paper inferior weaponry or crude weaponry, but just are way out of their depth.
It's and like guerrilla warfare.
And all the hubris they have coming in, exemplified by Bill Paxton, and who plays Hudson. He's in here now. Lance Henriksen's playing the cyborg in this one. Bishop. Michael Biehn plays Hicks in the special edition. You find out his first name is Dwayne.
Key detail.
Jeanette Goldstein, who is a very Jewish person, plays Vasquez.
Interesting.
That blew my mind.
Yeah. A Cameron regular. This was her first movie, though. And I mean, she's great in it. It's just, you wouldn't have a non-Hispanic person play that role today.
Yeah.
Despite, I mean, she's a badass. It's a great character. It's not like they don't make a joke out of the fact that she's Hispanic. It's just a big part of that character, I guess. And any other like main people? There's a lot of other people too, but they don't make it for that long.
Frost is like kind of that's like Vasquez's homeboy or whatever. But
I always forget his name, but
the blonde guy,
the actual like leader of the guy there.
The captain or whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot his name too. A something with an A.
Apon.
Apon.
Apon, I was.
Yeah, I think it was that.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys like these Marines?
I think it fits like the movie.
Hate them.
But like, I don't know.
I love these guys.
I think it's great because like it's exactly what you think it's going to be, where it's like, oh, we're just a bunch of meatheads going in. It's like nothing can get us. And then the second anything goes wrong, it's just complete panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Cameron was pushed into that apology because I didn't see anything inaccurate with these Marines, to be honest with you. But that's coming from a salty National Guardsman. I mean, the Marines are basically just the Navy's infantry. They like try to procure this like that, but like they're not the SEALs. They're not special forces. They're just like they're the ground troops of the
better
Navy.
grunts.
Yeah, they are the grunt. Like I don't know. I appreciate that he probably had to give that discllaimer, but
he's saying it kind of tongue in cheek. It's not like an officially like. It's not a notes app apology.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm sure they were a little like they were freaking out a little much towards the end, but I'm glad you gave that Vietnam coverage or color because that really
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that he's saying it is because after he made this movie, his youngest brother joined the Marines. It was like, I guess it wasn't actually like that.
It's fine.
I don't know if it was because of this movie, but or just the kind of a thing that just happened. Life. Yeah, no, I like these guys.
Yeah, they're
except Hudson. I guess he was good to throw into the mix, but
yeah, you're saying you do not care for Bill Paxton's character. Hudson.
Well, towards the end of it, like he was only speaking in like that screaming, like, "Oh man, I wanted to fucking die."
I feel like if you watched like all of your friends just get brutally murdered.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't have a reason to be that way, but me as a viewer,
I feel like you do need that because it's always like the big person, like all like wicked strong, like saying it with their chest, and then like everyone gets burned. And they're like, "Oh nope, I'm done. I'm checked out."
Yeah. He's the guy that's sort of exemplifying the overconfidence. There's a part that's cut out of the theatrical version when they're in the drop ship, where he's like walking around talking about how much of a badass he is, how much of a badass we all are. Like, don't worry, Ripley, you got the biggest badasses in the galaxy protecting you. And so then his arc goes to he's just a baby by the end of it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Classic.
He's still pretty helpful, but he's just complaining the whole time.
Well, he does like a lot of like there's one point where she asked him like pull up certain maps and stuff like that. So was he like the technical guy or like the?
I don't know.
I'm assuming that they all have like some general knowledge because they are supposed to be like the elite.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I'm sure everyone can do a little bit of everything.
Because like Michael Biehn takes over, but he wasn't actually like the commander of that unit. But he still knows like
what like the chain of command and how things are supposed to go.
Yeah. Right.
I guess. Yeah.
And it is funny just seeing Ripley be like, "Hey, like get your shit together. Like we gotta make it."
I'm sick of your bullshit.
But yeah, the express elevator to hell going down, then that drops, and it's a cool scene. I like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. There's sorry, I don't want to go too far past the opening of the time with her and the Marines on the Sulaco. They have breakfast. And there's a couple things that happen there that are worth noting. She's really suspicious of Bishop.
She should be after the last one tried to kill her.
Yes, and Lance Henriksen sometimes plays villains quite often, and he's gives. If you go back knowing what happens in the rest of the movie, you realize he's just very helpful the whole time. Mm-hmm. But he does seem like a little shady, but that's just his vibe.
Well, they start off by having him do the like 5-figure.
Yeah, and then I was going to say, then the other thing is the knife trick.
Yeah.
They have to, but like he doesn't say like I'm gonna do like somebody else holds the guy's hand out. And
Yeah.
he's like I can clearly do this on an Android. Like it's not gonna be a problem.
It's definitely something that he's done like a million times before.
Yeah, it's just a process. Like there's no margin of error. It's just I hit this spot. You know. So
Except when
in
he
his
does nick his
perspective-
finger, though.
Oh, that's true.
Because that's when they find out that he is like a synthetic. It's like,
right,
hey,
right.
I thought you'd never miss. And
He's
then
got the
Ripley
milky
freaks
stuff
out.
or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That's interesting.
Um.
Which kind of brings up Ripley's point where he's like, "Oh, don't worry, they got the bugs out," and it's like, "Well, did you? Because you just nicked your finger."
And also, like, we didn't think there was anything wrong with that guy.
Right.
And it's not, and yeah, and her thing is that guy wasn't bugged. He actually was doing what he was programmed to do.
You just don't know what he's been programmed to do because she's not an engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's we don't have to get too in the weeds on like this fun fact stuff of me being like pushing my glasses way up the ridge of my nose and saying, did you guys know that they were pioneering the use of a variable frame rate camera in this? And that's one of the scenes where they film it, you know, at a different frame rate and then speed it up. And I think they might have just filmed that at 24 and then speeded it up. But there's, for the most part, anytime you see a vehicle in motion, it's a miniature that they moved really quickly at 48 frames per second, but then slowed it down so it's 24 frames per second.
Oh, interesting.
Because when you do that with a miniature, it makes it look like it has the correct weight of like an actual thing and gives it the right scale.
Oh, that's cool.
That's probably the only time we need to talk about that. But James Cameron's still trying to do the high frame rate thing, even in Avatar 2, even in the re-release of Titanic that just came out this weekend. Anyway, so yeah, the knife trick's great. And as Bill Paxton and some of the other actors say on the commentary, why is he so freaked out? Bishop put his hand on top of his. If he fucks it up, he's not gonna hit Bill Paxton's hand, or at least not first.
Right.
But that's a great scene with him screaming. He's so scared.
He's very scared.
Which I guess also clues you into this guy's an actual just baby.
Yeah, the mental stability.
Yeah. Express elevator to hell going down. Back to the dropship scene.
Oh, but to just back it up just a little bit, they do also just play into the, oh, hey, there's just this random girl with us, referring to Ripley. And it's like, oh, what is she going to do? And then she pops in the power loader suit and be like, oh, hey, like, I actually am useful.
This?
Like, and like, they kind of like just shut up after that.
The way that, I don't even know how to do an impression of it, the way that guy says, Bay 12, please. Stands out to me.
I also really like that whole scene and the way he says that. He's like, Bay 12, please. I can't do it either, but
Bay 12,
yeah. And then puts the cigar back in his mouth. Yeah.
So good.
And then, yeah, express elevator down.
No, can't get there yet. So the power loader.
Yep.
We're never going out.
And again, just another thing that's like, this movie is actually substantially lower budget than you think. There's a guy inside the power loader that's moving it. It's actually made out of like plastic and styrofoam.
That's really funny.
And the technique that they're using is, I think as James Cameron in the commentary says, akin to like a daughter dancing on her father's feet.
Oh, that's actually really neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's they said it's like a 270-pound British bodybuilder inside it that's like moving the stuff around.
Come here, Sigourney.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. So they're coordinating, like we're stepping at the same time and like moving the arms, because it's actually the guy inside who is like picking up the arm mechanisms.
That's interesting.
That makes it even cooler knowing that they're gonna fight the queen later.
Yeah, he's in there while they're fighting a big puppet.
I picture him just like in the dark, just waiting there the whole time.
Yeah.
The ship's gone.
Also worth mentioning, this is filmed in Britain. Terminator hadn't come out yet in the UK. So they were all super disrespectful of James Cameron and Galen Hurd, the producer. Galen Hurd was married to James Cameron at the time. So apparently they kept asking her who is actually producing this. You're just the director's wife. So like level with us, who's actually the producer on this. Apparently they asked it to her like every day. Wow. Yeah. So, and James Cameron doesn't film in Britain anymore. And they're not used to long Hollywood style 12-hour days. Apparently they were complaining the whole time. They hadn't seen any of his stuff before, so they thought he couldn't do what he wanted to do. Constant second guessing, upright mutinies at some point. where the first assistant director organized a walkout with some cast members and like the entire crew. And the assistant director is supposed to be the guy that's like most on your side. And so James Cameron did not have a fun time with the British crew, but they did a good job. The movie looks pretty incredible for the budget they made it on.
For sure.
Express elevator to hell going down.
Oh, wait.
It's like, I don't know if you noticed this. I'm choosing not to talk about the scene where she tries to tell them about the planet because it's fine. It's whatever. Yeah. And they don't listen to her. During this scene, the shaky camera effect is James Cameron grabbing the camera as the camera operator is holding it, and he's the one that's actually shaking it. Huh. He said he gave the guy a black eye. He said you can't have them shake it themselves because then they like naturally fall into like a rhythm and it's got to look more chaotic. So it only works if you're shaking it and they're trying to fight you.
Maybe he was one of the British guys on set.
Yeah, maybe he's just like, come here, you motherfucker.
We got to do the scene again.
And it's funny as he's like describing it, it's getting more and more shaky. And you're like, oh, you're really going after this guy.
You just hear like blows landing.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
It's just like a guy screaming. You're like, no one on screen is.
The camera just panned off the side.
And I don't know if it's here or when it's on the ground or whatever, but this I think it's this set, the inside of this ship, or it's the inside of one of the vehicles. No, it's the inside of one of the vehicles once they get to the ground, where they're all in the vehicle and there's a bunch of stuff on the ceiling. Apparently it collapsed and hit James Cameron in the head and he got like a concussion. His head was bleeding and stuff.
Oh, that was the first.
Oh, maybe that's where he got the inspiration for the other guy later.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But it's, I mean, if you look at the ceiling of that, there is a lot of crap hanging off of it. And I guess there was just too much.
Not well secured.
No. So whatever, they get down there, the atmospheric processing center or whatever is, what makes it just so people can live in this area. And I only bring that up because I assume that's what they're going to say in the next Avatar movie about why there's all humans living in a city that they're making in Avatar 2. In Avatar 3, I'm assuming the city will be done and they'll have some kind of APC that's making the air breathable. Anyway, that's just my theory on Avatar 3.
Good.
Express elevator to hell going down.
Is it? Can we say express anymore? Is that allowed? This is kind of just like a very slow elevator that will eventually get us to the bottom.
Yeah. It's the scenic route to hell going down.
So they land in the colony. There's no one there.
I really like the scene of them like scanning and going through where it's all quiet and you're just seeing the destruction and you're just it's leaving it to your imagination the terrible stuff that happened here. Probably even more effective if you didn't see the earlier scene, or maybe it is more effective if you do, because you know it was quiet and not always infested with aliens.
Yeah, I do wish that there was maybe like, I don't know, maybe nightmares from Newt to just see like things that they saw.
Some kind of flashback or something.
Yeah,
they probably would have if they didn't know that, if they knew they were going to cut that part when they filmed it.
Yeah, or maybe if they had like a bigger budget, like you were saying.
Yeah. It would make sense too. Sigourney Weaver has nightmares throughout, so you'd like mirror it with Newt having nightmares. Yeah, perfect. You're a better writer than James Cameron. He wrote this script in the same 3-month period that he wrote Terminator and Rambo. So
he wrote all of them in 2 months.
Yeah, according to him.
Wow.
He said that he aimed for them each to be 2 hours long. You generally think of pages and minutes, so they're each 120 pages long. And he said he divided the waking hours that he had in 2 months into how many pages he had to write an hour while he was awake.
Holy crap.
I'd love to hear what his Coke dealer has to say about this.
Yeah, there's definitely some PEDs involved.
Yeah. He's got pretty long hair and a big bushy beard at the time. And he's not a straight edge looking guy, but I mean, he is pretty clean now, but we'll see. Never seemingly had a drug problem, but he had some kind of help to make all that, you'd think.
You don't write 3 movies in 2 months sober. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on record. James Cameron, you can call me out on this. I will fight you, Big Jim.
They don't call him Big Jim for nothing.
They don't call him Big Jim. I have actually no idea what you look like.
Express
so
elevator.
If somebody hits me, it's probably him.
You're Robbie, right?
I'm assuming he knows what I look like, though.
Yeah, he knows what you look like.
Of the two of us.
You're Big Rob, right?
Damn it, no. Sorry. All right, we're in hell.
they do a great setup for later. And I mean, they have the kind of like proximity tracker thing in the first one, obviously, with the beeping that gets louder as it gets closer, that gets Dallas in the air ducts. But this it has like the visual component too of them seeing like the dot on it, setting up for when later they're being attacked in the like the last stand, and it's just completely a full screen of just color coming at them.
That was such a good device to use because
Yeah.
that built up the tension like so high.
Oh yeah, and you're just like that panic.
Yeah, it's
setting
like your
in.
heartbeat can matches the beeping.
There's a lot in Terminator last week, and we'll talk about it even in True Lies next week. There's so many things that James Cameron does that just efficiently sets up later action sequences really well. And just like really efficiently gets them in there that like, okay, you know how that works without them saying anything, even though there's all this gear. He loves his tech. He loves his gear. Everyone's got their own stuff going on, but you get like functionally pretty much what everyone's doing and what it does. And yeah. So that's one of the cool things that he does there. And then they find Newt after, well, they find the
Some
lab.
hamsters.
Yeah, they find the hamsters. They find a couple living and at least one dead facehugger in the tubes there.
So now they're trying to figure out where all the colonists went.
And this is, I guess, the first time where you have the friction of Paul Reiser's character Burke, who's saying like, no, we need to like, this data is what's important. We need to not nuke the whole facility. Which is Ripley's like, oh, okay. So this went the way I told you it was going to go. We have to get out of here. We have to blow up everything that's still here.
Yep.
And she's told, no, we can't do that.
Think of the military.
Yeah. And so then they find Newt, and then they go into the lair of the actual aliens.
Well, they first go into like the command center, and
Oh,
they're
right,
like,
yeah.
we got to find out where all these people went because there's
Yeah.
no one here.
I was gonna keep forgetting. There's like
And-
basically like two different buildings
Yeah.
between the lair and the kind of place where they end up barricading.
Yeah, because where they're at is like the terraforming
Yeah.
building because it has like the temperature control and all that stuff in like the warmer area.
Mhm.
So then it's like they find all the trackers in them. They're like, where are all these people? And they don't question why every single tracker is in one spot.
They're having a town meeting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a town meeting.
Town meeting, everything's destroyed in this place. Maybe they're just there for fun.
Maybe they figure they're like sheltering in that one place. But,
I probably would have immediately went to like, oh, that's where all the bodies are.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
As Ripley
should've gone.
continuously starts saying all the things that make sense.
Yeah,
That seems like a big graveyard.
Yeah. It's a big graveyard or like a big, I guess, whatever you want to call it, harvesting, birthing facility or whatever.
Spawning grounds.
Spawning grounds, yeah, pretty much. And it turns out it is. I love that. And Cameron said this is something he got pushed back on from the studio, how long it takes for there to actually be like a fight with the aliens.
Yeah, I think it's like 45 minutes before we even get there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it's good. It's a really effective build. They have all these, we're mentioning, the proximity scanners, all the gear, all this stuff that, the Marines are sort of pumping themselves up as like, we're these badasses. We've got these crazy guns and stuff. They get in there. Ripley's like, oh, if they use those guns, it'll set off a nuclear reaction, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because
guy's
they're
like,
like mini
uh,
exploding bullets.
Right. It's like, okay, don't use your guns,
Yeah.
like, but keep going anyway.
As it's getting like darker and grimmer and
You're becoming
more
much more
freaky.
Geigery.
Yeah.
So I'm glad like the conversation went the way it did because when that was happening, I'm thinking like, all right, so we finally have a movie with aliens in it again, and now we have a prepared crew. But of course, the prepared crew, they can't use their weapons, so we still don't get to see an even blah blah. Right? That was my criticism. And then
Some of them basically just say fuck it though and start firing their guns once
No,
they're
no.
like, well, we're gonna die if I don't.
well, for sure. But then when you brought up that it's a Vietnam allegory, it
Oh,
made
sure.
a shit ton more sense because we did have the best weapons. But guess what? They weren't meant to fight in the jungle.
Mhm.
So like the weapons did fuck up and they didn't fire. And sometimes you were just picking up so like it makes a shit ton of sense that it's like, yeah, this is what the best fighting force, completely trained. They were so prepared and oh shit, yep, your guns don't work.
Yeah.
Which is
Yep.
a thing that happens.
Especially with like they have their motion sensor thing, but obviously that doesn't work if they're all just hanging in the walls.
Well, that and they were
Right.
like,
Right, yeah.
oh, was it motion? Because they were like, oh, it doesn't work on them. I'm like, oh, it's probably because they have acid blood. I don't think
Yeah,
it's
no,
looking for acid
No,
blood.
it's
but
the motion sensor,
but
and
they're in
because
the
they kind of go
walls.
into like a hibernative state.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. He's doing Vietnam.
Oh yeah, no,
And, like,
definitely.
then you add in the tunnels, and like the native knows, like they're like, no, they're coming, and she's like, hey, and it's like, yeah, we dug all these.
What also kills me is like when they're taking the express elevator hell, and they're like
Going
talking.
down.
They're talking to their lieutenant, and it's like this. Oh, like how many drops have you been on? And he's like, oh yeah, 26. It's like simulated. It's like this is number 2.
Right.
And you think like a company like Wayland would maybe like send someone a little more important, unless they assumed it was going to be a suicide mission.
Well, how many dangerous missions are there actually? Like in reality right now, if we had to send astronauts on a dangerous mission, like do we have any that have gone on
Yeah,
danger?
that's a good point.
No, I know, but like when you,
if it's been like 60 years since contact with that level of species, and no one believes her, right?
yeah, but I mean, if you have like that kind of like force that you're going with these Marines, like you assume the commander might have some experience with like just fighting in general.
Yeah, I mean, they might be the most experienced space fighters that exist, and they did too. Do you know what I like? They just might not.
What's really interesting now that I'm thinking about it, when you said like, when talking about like, oh, are there other species out here? And they're referring to it as like a bug hunt, right? So clearly there are like alien species that these fighters have been out like shooting at and shit.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Not to the level of the xenomorphs,
right.
but they're calling it a bug hunt, right? So this is something that they're like, oh, this old chestnut, we've done this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I do love that. It's just like, oh yeah, let's just take away all of their weapons.
Yeah,
And it's like
it's good.
they could just be like, oh, just safety's on. It's like just use as last resort.
Mhm.
And instead they're like, let's put it all in one bag. I'm sure this is not going to have any negatives later.
Let's put it all in one bag and then set the bag on fire.
Well, I mean, as you saw, because some of them didn't listen anyway, you did not want them even having the ability, because like
You're right. Yeah.
you don't want to use it as a last resort when the last resort is like, maybe you kill a xenomorph, maybe you blow up the whole planet.
I think Ripley probably would have taken that at that point.
She
It's
would have.
Yeah, fine. Blow up
A
the planet.
mil-
I don't care.
Military operation
No.
might have, depending, but they didn't have all the data. If they knew what Ripley knew, then they would have said we're just blowing up. They probably would have
Yeah.
sent a missile and killed everyone.
So this is a good time to mention, maybe that guy's in charge just because he was the cheapest option. The suits that are sending them, even though it's way in the future, Cameron did specifically in the conference room scene earlier want them to just be in like suits and ties, because he says a suit is a suit,
Yeah.
and fuck the bosses, and these are the corporate interests that that the military is going to fight for. And he was also saying that was a riff on Vietnam, which like to his 20 whatever year old mind is like the only point that we were over there is to protect US corporate interests. So that is what he's riffing on with the Burke character that's there too. That's the war that they're fighting is on behalf of this corporation, basically. Because there's no threat to the safety of Earth unless they keep sending things that are going to come back to Earth, to this planet.
Yeah, from everything we've seen from I guess they did have a spaceship initially. I was gonna say we haven't seen them build spaceships. I don't think we know that's because of the other, but like
according to Ridley Scott, they didn't build the spaceship,
right?
And
it's just seen Prometheus, right?
Yeah, because it's not them. They're just a biological weapon.
Yes, right.
Yeah, they don't seem to have the intelligence to build spaceships.
But right, exactly. They do have the intelligence to eventually figure out how to cut the electricity, but that's later. So yeah, this goes sideways. We lose most of the Marines in this first skirmish.
I was so sad that we lost Sarge right in the beginning.
Yeah.
I wanted him like to have some kind of input later on, or maybe them find him on a wall. But
Yeah. As the guy who isn't nominally in charge of the military unit here, but is the guy who obviously has authority and experience, you're thinking like, well, as long as he's around, they'll make like good decisions or whatever, but they make bad decisions immediately.
And so that's how it goes. Like that was actually another really accurate portrayal for the military, is like that person would be what you'd consider a sergeant. They get to their position by starting as a private, and you need to put in its years of service. It normally takes about 5 years. The guy in charge that was freaking out is a lieutenant. Lieutenants need to graduate college. You graduate college, you're a second lieutenant. So normally when you have like a unit like that, he has one thing of experience.
Yep.
The sergeant has been around for a while, and that relationship does really look like that, where the lieutenant is the one that's just like, hey, Sarge, I need them to do this. And the Sarge is the one that
Yeah, it's like, hey, this may not make sense, but we got to follow orders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like what you'd see if they had time to develop the relationship a little more is in private, the Sarge might be like, hey, you told us to do X, Y, and Z, and that was fucking stupid. Never do that again. But like never in front of the men.
Yep.
So I don't it was pretty good, especially for somebody that hasn't been in the military. He did a pretty good job
That
of
was
like
mostly guessing.
Yeah, no,
capturing
it was
things.
just very well done.
Yeah. That's cool to know. Thanks for that.
But yeah, so he went in with what, like 8 or 10 guys, and they come out with 4?
They lose like all their leadership, basically.
Yeah, because like first guy gets lit on fire, he falls over. He was the ammo bag carrier.
Yeah, that
Ammo
instantly
bag.
blows up.
First guy goes over to grab it, realizes the ammo's on fire. He's like, oh. And it's like that like pause moment, and then he's dead.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
You had a few just taken out or dragged away.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And then one casualty due to friendly fire explosion.
Yep. I love like we already mentioned that, you know, they're curled up in the walls and stuff,
Yep.
but I love that even if you know that that's coming, the one shot, I forget who it is. It might be the Sarge that it's in the wall behind him curled up.
And like you can see it too. Like
Yeah,
if you know
see
it's coming.
If you know it's coming to see it, but it's still like, if I didn't know it was there, that's extremely good
Yeah,
camouflage.
and I mean, on top of the fact, like they just build all this stuff. This is the first time they're seeing like this growth on walls.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't know what the aliens look like until it's too late.
Yeah. It's so organic and slimy in there. And
A lot of wetness,
it's so wet.
a lot of moisture.
Just no chains though.
No
No
chains.
chains. The loading bay, I guess, has some chains where she first gets in the loader, but no chains in this building.
A whole lot of wet though.
Whole lot
A
of wet
lot
though.
of wet. Yeah, we do miss our wet chains.
But yeah, so then everything's going sideways. Lieutenant doesn't know what to do, and then Rip is like, "Well, what else is new? I'm gonna take hold of this."
Yep.
Drives the APC into the building,
Mhm.
like through walls, and saves who they can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm saving you, idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like almost like catatonic until she takes the wheel, and then he like comes to like, what the hell are you doing? And that's
Yeah. He doesn't know what to do, but he does know he doesn't like his authority to be challenged.
yeah. I don't know what's going on, but I know I don't like this. So
Yeah,
I don't-
probably well observed also. So yeah, that's a badass scene for her, and she gets the remaining people back on.
Yeah, I want to say like four people.
Yeah.
There's 3
Just
in
have-
the vehicle.
Yeah, and there's like the one guy that almost gets back on, but his shoe.
Oh, Frost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Vasquez.
Yeah, because Vasquez is the one that blows up the alien. The guy gets coated in acid, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's her, Hicks, and Hudson are the only 3. And then
Yeah.
and Gorman,
3, and then
Yeah,
it's the 3 on board.
Right.
who,
Yeah.
who gets knocked out in the process of them getting out, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is something that we haven't really talked about, like context and legacy and stuff yet, but this is often credited with shaping the direction of most video games that have come out since, especially first-person shooters. And I feel like this is one of this whole sequence where you're seeing the people back in the vehicle watching through like the mounted cameras. Basically, they're watching a first-person shooter at that point.
Mhm.
And then also, especially with the ammo stuff, the times that they show the ammo count going down, very, very much inspired most shooting games to come.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to like go back and be like, oh yeah, that's a thing that people pay attention to when this is happening. It's like, oh no, not but until then. This is a thing they invented here.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of the Halo assault rifle. That
Yeah.
looks
Yep.
very
Yeah,
much
'cause
like
it's
that.
right up front.
Yeah. Even like the whole shape of it. Wow. I never like made that connection before.
It's pretty cool. The Pillar of Autumn looks a lot like the Sulaco too. Just to stay on the Halo tip.
Just one
But
big
yeah.
gun.
Just one big gun.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they get out of there to some fancy driving, and yeah.
They're like, oh, I guess we're gonna leave now. We'll just blow it up.
Yep. Michael Biehn takes control. Hicks does, and tells Paul Reiser. I love the moment when Ripley says, you know, we got to get into orbit and blow it up. And then he goes, yeah, I think the best option is once he's like, no, I'm actually the one in control. And then he just repeats what she said, basically.
Mhm.
It's a nice moment. You're like, there's something there, I guess.
Chemistry.
Little chemistry. And I just like, Hicks has been kind of a featured Marine to this point. He's like the one standing next to the sergeant when he says, Bay 12, please.
Yeah,
and
very like second in command.
Yeah, but he hasn't really like popped yet, and then he's going to be like the male lead of the rest of the movie, basically. So yeah, they try to do that, but it doesn't work out for the people coming to get them. Bill Paxton says, "Game over, man."
One of his many classic lines.
Yep, one of his classic Bone moments.
Game over, man. Game over.
I do like that they just send the alien onto the dropship.
Yeah.
They're like, why is this sticky? And you're like, oh, well, there goes their ride home.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that whole scene. And then the girl piloting the plane, she's like, what the hell? She just turns behind and it's just like a river of blood just like inside of it.
This is Echo 419.
Yeah.
Coming for approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. We some of the times where they go in, they come out, they go back in, whatever. So I think we might have missed the first time when Ripley and Newt are kind of bonding, because that happens before they all go in and the bunch of the Marines die,
Yeah,
right?
it's when they like clean off her face.
Yeah, when she's cleaning off her face and just says, "My parents are dead. Can I go now?" Or whatever.
Go where? Sure.
Right. She wants to go back into the ducts.
It's fair.
The ducts.
Well, like, which is good.
She's like, I know how to survive here. You guys don't. I'm more in danger if I have to stick with you.
No, for sure. It's just kind of funny because she survived through the ducts, but the aliens also use the ducts. So I'm picturing some like Spy v Spy antics or like Scooby Doo, where there's
later on she's like, oh, they mostly only come at night. Mostly.
Yeah.
Great line.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, that happens here, right? Because they're like, oh, we got to get inside.
Yeah, it was after the dropship crashes.
Right.
They make their way back, and then like, hey, we got to get back because they come at night.
Mostly.
It's a fun like, I guess, trope. I don't know. The only other time I've seen it was Jurassic Park 3, where they had the kid that survived for himself for a while. But I really enjoy that like dynamic. I think that's a fun like the adults show up and there's a kid that's just been like fucking around for a couple weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, just undetermined amount of time. We don't know how long it takes
To get there, yeah, or they were dead for.
Yeah.
Right. Seriously. So then they start barricading that like control room.
Yeah.
They're making plans. They're looking at maps, trying to decide some stuff. There's a bit in the special edition here with sentry guns that isn't in the theatrical. And
Yeah, they set up in like the service tunnels.
yeah, I like the sentry guns.
Yeah, I think it's a good.
Cameron said that once again, the studio thought that there was just like too much time in between aliens attacking them. So that was one of the things they cut, because as the fights, it's not like a consistent scene, but as the fight's going on, you see them setting up the guns. And then before they actually get in the room, it's the guns that they see the bullet counts going down on.
Yep.
And they're not actually seeing the aliens dying or being shot at. So it's like a really effective suspense builder where they're just watching these automated sentry gun ammo reserves get depleted. And they're like, oh, fuck, what's out there?
Yeah, it's like, how many are there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one gets down to the final gun has 10 bullets left.
Yeah.
And the aliens like retreat or whatever.
Yeah, it does show like a slight clip right there where it shows one getting lit up.
Yeah, one like it fucking explodes. And then they're like, oh, I guess they repelled them. And Ripley's like, no, they're just going to find a different way in.
Mm-hmm.
They determined that way doesn't work.
And boy, do they find a new way in.
Yes, they do. A bunch of stuff happens in between. It seems like when they're in that one room that it's a pretty small area they've barricaded, but they also have like the science lab and where Newt and Ripley try and take a nap.
Well, they do take a nap. It just
Well,
go
it
that
gets
well.
interrupted.
yeah.
This is also where they send Lance Henriksen into the tube.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yep.
That's I like some of the scenes or the shots of him actually like crawling through the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's just the light.
It's a
shining
cool
on him.
shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool shot.
Yeah, and they had to actually put him in a tube. He's on the commentary track like, yeah, I didn't like that. Didn't care for tubes.
Yeah,
Puts
that'd
me
be
in a tube.
tricky.
And then it cuts to James Cameron on the commentary track, and he's like, yeah, this was like back when I was growing up, there was a new development being built nearby, and when all the neighborhood kids would get together and we'd have competitions to see who could crawl the furthest
Oh
up
my
like
God.
the mid-construction like water lines and stuff.
Oh my
You
God.
cannot pay me enough money.
And he's like, it was fine with me because I don't get claustrophobic. And like his pastime is getting into extremely small submersibles and going way under the ocean. So I guess it
that
makes sense.
Yeah.
But
That's why the South Park thing about James Cameron was like that. Okay.
yeah, it's all making sense.
James Cameron raising the bar.
Yeah. But yeah, he says like he got like he only got stuck one time. He was like 100 meters into the tube, he thinks, and he got stuck and he had to go backwards all the way out. But he's like, yeah, I guess he was always just hanging out in these tubes. So he's like, let's put it in the movie.
I wonder why child mortality used to be so bad.
Yeah. He never said like what anyone won and like how it was verifiable. It probably wasn't. Just go like 10 meters in and hang out for a half hour and be like, man, I did the whole neighborhood. But anyway, they sent him down the tube. There's a couple shots of him like in really high winds trying to fix the stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Bishop's cool. We like Bishop.
Yep.
Yeah, they always kind of like hint at maybe he's evil because he's like messing with the face hugger, like, oh, it's really interesting. And then like, oh, I guess I'll be the one to go summon the ship.
Exactly. Yeah. They give you just enough to justify being sort of wary of him, that it still feels like a cathartic moment when he does bring the ship back at the end. We're not there yet.
He looks very much like an AI too. I don't know if it was like how they did his makeup or like just
I think
his
he just
performance
has
itself.
those creases in his face.
Well, he looks like an actual like AI.
It's like the quintessential character actor. He's most recent. The thing that I've seen him in is the game The Quarry. So
That's really funny.
yeah.
So now we got Ripley and Newt taking a nap under the bed. Ripley leaves the gun on the bed and was like, oh, I'll just hang here for a minute, make sure the kid's okay. And then wakes up and
Gun's gone.
sees the tube on the ground and gun's gone, sees the gun outside.
Yeah, it's a great build. This is on a show that I mentioned before during the month that we just did a bunch of stuff that was available on the Shudder streaming service. Is they have like 101 scariest moments. And this was one of the moments on the 101. It was near the end of it was, maybe 70s, maybe 80s. But yeah, this whole sequence with the face hugger in the room. Good shit. You guys like this scene?
Yeah, it was good. It's a good scene.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
It's I don't know what the word for it is, but it's so frustrating because you feel like it's such a small, like you should just be able to step on it, but they're so fucking strong, clearly, since a full grown man can't pull the chokey bit off.
Them too.
Yeah.
Wiley.
It's just nuts how much like force is packed into that little package.
They make a bunch of different versions of it, some of which that are like you can articulate the limbs with, basically marionette strings. Some of which are just essentially rubber chickens. The one that ends up trying to like get on Sigourney Weaver's face, they said it was basically a rubber chicken that like a huge group of adults can't get off.
They're just struggling to make it.
Yeah, it's like, but it's the performance of the actors that sells it, and like it really does.
For sure.
But yeah, this whole sequence is great. The slow realization of what's happening when it cuts to the closed circuit security camera, and Paul Reiser just like turns it off and just sort of like walks away.
Oh yeah, I remember specifically when I watched this, like before like it even got to that, I was like, oh, that son of a bitch. Like,
oh yeah, you know,
she sees the gun's been moved outside, and yeah,
because
the door's locked from the outside, I guess.
Yeah, because they wanted to blow up the place, and he's like, oh no, it's like we're gonna bring those samples back, and she's like, I'm not gonna let you do that.
Yeah,
he's like, well, I'm gonna do it to you then.
Yep.
They definitely should have immediately put a bullet in his head, though.
Yeah,
I don't get
it's
her
space rules.
Yeah, I don't get
space
her,
rules
her
out the
argument
airlock
whatsoever, especially in an emergency situation like that as well. Like you can't
have that guy here.
You can't have that guy here.
Yeah,
that guy immediately proved he no.
Yeah, it just keeps on screwing them over every time.
And then like what it was like 10 minutes later, it's like open the store. He's like he's not gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work out well for him though.
No.
So
It's his.
So yeah, they do that whole sequence. It's great. The red light is like, pulsing and just cool shit.
The fire alarm was a really good idea.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Quick
that
thinking.
100% would have been dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would
Though-
not have thought of that.
Yeah.
I would have been
No,
trying
exactly.
to smash it with chairs or something.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then realize there's a second one.
Oh my god.
One thing that Cameron mentions when they're looking at like the schematics and trying to figure out where to barricade, where to place the guns and stuff, is that he likes to see his heroes like actually doing problem solving and like coming up with how, step by step, what are we going to do? And so I feel like the Ripley like thinking, okay, I'm going to have to set off the fire alarm. I got this lighter, going to hold it up to the sprinkler. It's like, oh yeah, that's problem solving. It makes sense.
When she first did it, I was like, well, it's going to take forever to drown that thing.
We're way taller than that.
Yeah, they show up and Ripley's like, oh, yeah, that's why I did it.
Yeah. And like they take like the different steps of like her trying to break the glass. It's like, well, that's not going to do. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even she knew it wasn't going to work, but she's like, all right, I'm going to try this anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on their way now, and so the red lights, the water's coming down, and the thing like gets around her neck, and she's that.
Yep.
And it cuts to Newt screaming, and you see the thing come up behind her.
And then she has
That's
it pinned
so cool.
against the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I like it's nice they shoot the glass before Biehn jumps through it. Cool shit. It's just good stuff.
It's good. It's great stuff.
And the movie's just in it was a slow build to that first skirmish, but now it's just all fucking go.
Oh yeah, it's nonstop.
Yeah. And it's just some of the best action set pieces ever in movies for the rest of the movie. They end up in that room, they weld the door shut. And and again, they set up the trackers before. They see this huge blotch of color coming at them. They're like, okay, it's just a few meters away. And they're like, okay, it should be in the room now. And the great shot of Biehn with the gun poking up I guess this has drop ceilings and his eyes
the
coming
ventilation.
up. Yeah. And then just his eyes coming up and it switches to that shot of there's like a bunch of aliens. That's really cool.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, fuck, they found another way in.
Life.
Yeah. Life
finds a
finds a way. And then this is the bit that would have come after when the sentry guns are like spent.
Okay.
In the special edition. So yeah, then it's just Cameron describes this part as the Alamo.
Mm.
And the sentry guns as the first bit of it, which they cut out, and then them just making this last stand in here.
You told me they forgot about part of the Alamo.
Yeah, they forgot about part of the Alamo.
I forgot the Al.
Very good. Yeah, this is where Hudson gets it. He gets pulled through the floor.
Oh yeah.
Oh
he got
it's
it
like
pretty
right
bad
before
too.
they.
Yeah, tough way to go.
Yeah.
He gets to say motherfucker though. That's his quota.
And that's it.
Yep.
And he's dead.
Yeah, so he gets sucked through while they're opening the door.
Yes.
They make it through. Second door's locked.
Yeah.
Like, ah.
Yeah. After Paul Reiser's closing all these doors on them.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna make it out, haha, and then
No,
not for him.
he gets got to. They
Which
get-
I guess works out for them because that's probably the route they would have went out.
yes. Yeah.
Oh
no,
yeah.
Totally.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point.
Took one for the team.
Yeah. Yeah. He was being a team player. Totally. There's a moment that happens here that Cameron points out that it's again all these high-tech soldiers, but eventually they get into the ducks. They're following the little kid.
Mm.
That's what they're at this point. The only way is like, okay, we got to follow this little kid's lead now. They know what they're doing. And they get into the ducts. And as Cameron says, isn't it funny how in movies everyone can fit into air ducts?
They
So,
have
yeah,
some massive
James.
air ducts.
Yeah. They're
Yeah, they're massive air ducts. He's like, obviously that's not how air ducts work, but whatever. It's a movie.
So they work in all movies, so I guess it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Unless you're John McClane.
Right. Yeah. They don't even have to like army crawl. They're just
Full on
basically
running
crouch
through.
running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see somebody do that in a movie now, where they just like they go through, they unscrew the air duct, and like you're not seeing the full like scale of it, and they like pull it down, and it's like this big.
Yeah.
It's that big. They're just tons of
That's
dirt
not
and
gonna work.
grime and cobwebs.
So they just put it back in and turn around.
Yeah.
The movies lied to me.
Yeah. It's all part of a very air duct action movie lineage. This is ones that we've covered. This movie, Die Hard, Jurassic Park, all big air duct scenes.
Love the ducks.
Love the ducts. So yeah, in pretty quick succession here, just to reset, we lose Paxton under the floorboards. Reiser gets it after going through a door, and they head into the air ducts where Vasquez and the guy who was the lieutenant dies. But that's a nice moment we were just talking about.
Oh yeah, it's like Vasquez is pretty much holding the line, gets some acid on the ankle. You're like, oh well, this is it for her.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun fact: the up close, no, that's not the word. The close ups of her shooting a gun Anytime it's her with a handgun shooting a gun in this bit in the air ducts, you notice that her face isn't also in the shot because it's actually producer Gail Ann Hurd.
Oh.
Interesting.
And because she was the only one on set who knew how to fire a handgun because they filmed it in England and people don't have handguns there.
Real weird.
Huh.
It's just, I don't know. You pull the trigger.
Well, it wasn't that she couldn't like figure out how to make it work. It's just that
What is this thing?
Didn't look natural using it.
no, it didn't look. It was the recoil. It looked like unnatural, and it should just be like, well, this is the biggest badass, like the most hardened.
I see what you're
person
saying.
here.
She knew how to fire a gun. She just never had fired a gun. So.
Yeah, so she wasn't.
Ready for the
She wasn't
recoil.
carrying it off like a person who does this regularly.
It's just funny because it is the UK, so I could legitimately picture them like all circled around a gun, being like, "What is it?"
This isn't a musket.
They're just like trying to put the bullets
That's the last
in the
time they had
front.
Which also brings up the question, like, I mean, there's so many special effects in the movie. Did they have to have a gun that was firing for that bit? Like, that had actual, like, full recoil? Could she not just be like, boom, boom, boom?
They were like the
good
assistant
point.
director was gonna like bring it up, but they were like, "He's from America. Just let him have it."
He's Canadian. Apparently, he was mad because they kept referring to him as an American. He's
Oh,
like, I'm not
man.
Canadian. Yeah, they kept like calling him a Yank and stuff. Fucking Canadian.
No wonder you
I'm technically British, kind
It's
of.
probably like I've got the Queen on my money.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm in this weird middle area.
Yeah.
so then there's a moment that I want to call out because I think it's referenced in Avatar 2, where they're trying to escape. You got the main three people left now: Hicks, Ripley, and Newt, and they're going up that ladder that is weirdly positioned over like a big gear.
hmm
It's the ventilation.
Yeah, for
It's the fan.
But why would you put the ladder there?
I'm assuming the fan's normally off
Yeah, probably.
when you're using the ladder. There's probably a big sign that's like, "Don't
Do
use
not come
ladder."
in here.
Like, turn off switch before
Yeah,
using
probably.
ladder.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Newt goes down the tube, and there's a moment in Avatar 2 that I think is like, I haven't, compared them 1-to-1 to each other, but it feels visually like almost a 1-to-1 where a little kid gets sucked down a hole.
Okay. Yeah, I can picture the scene. That makes sense.
Like Cameron extended universe all come together.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And when I saw it, the first time I saw Avatar 2, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's like almost looks exactly the same.
hmm
The action of it, at least. That's with water, not just gravity. But this is why, if you're in an action movie, you don't grab the jacket, you grab the hand. Because
Mm.
people can slip out of their jackets.
It's fair.
And then they got to go find Newt. There's
Yep, good thing she has that tracker on her.
Good
a,
thing.
yeah. And Cameron says here, like, he didn't have any kids at the time, so he didn't think it was that big a deal. But I guess a lot of critics were saying, like, this is like a lot of jeopardy to put a kid in. And it's just like kind of uncomfortable to watch. And he's like, yeah, now that I have kids, I probably wouldn't have done this scene. But when it's her in the water being like stalked by the xenomorph.
Mm.
I don't know, I feel like it adds a lot.
It does. It's really,
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's really visceral.
Did they mean more for like the literal action of putting a child actor into that position, or do they mean for viewers to watch?
I think like for viewers to watch,
Gotcha.
Cameron does say they were really careful to try not to traumatize that actress the whole time. And there's a couple times, especially later when she's like in the cocoon, where the commentary tracks on Cameron is like, yeah, we were trying to like, make it fun for her, try not to like, we were putting like some goop on her and stuff, but we wanted her to like stay comfortable. And we think we did a pretty good job. And then it cuts to her and she was like, this was miserable. I had such a terrible time. I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like physically uncomfortable. I guess when she's in the cocoon, she couldn't like rest her feet on anything because it was like fragile fiberglass.
Oh man.
Mm.
So she's like, so she had to like sit there with her feet up the whole time that they were shooting that scene,
Oh,
I
wow.
guess.
Oof.
And Cameron's a perfectionist, so it probably took a while. Anyway,
Oh, great.
she's in the water. The xenomorph snags her. There's the great shot of the doll head floating in the water,
Mhm.
which you're like, why is she carrying this doll head? It's like, because
Reasons.
there's going to be a doll head shot later on that's really effective. That's why she's got this doll head. I know also the symbolism, but mostly because they wanted that shot.
I know it's way back, but I really love the scene where she was like, let's see if the doll's scared. Like, blah, 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 blah. Just, the doll's made out of plastic. She's like, that's great. I love the like you're trying to use kids' logic. Kids like, no, you're fucking stupid. This is a doll and there's aliens. So like, let's.
Yep. It's a good kid performance and a good kid character who's just like, okay, you got to level with Newt. She's seen some shit.
Yeah.
She's actually seen more shit than you. And I know what Ripley went through was really traumatizing, but those were coworkers.
Yeah.
She saw this happen to her family.
Her whole community.
Yeah.
I'm sure she knew the other.
I was gonna say there was a lot of children in that opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's true.
I didn't see that.
Oh right. Oh, when they're showing the colony, there's like kids on like a 3-wheeler, like going around like the service area, like kids get out of here.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They say it's like something like 60 families.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's another thing that's added with the special edition. And this is a good time as any to mention the other, and I guess probably this isn't the longest sequence, but probably the biggest change from the special edition to the theatrical. Now that we're in the scene where Ripley's gearing up to go after Newt, in the special edition, she has a daughter, and then she's told that the daughter died. So
I feel like that's a pretty big piece of information.
Yeah.
Yes.
I might have watched the special edition the first time.
Yeah.
Because it's like when she first wakes up, she's like, where's my daughter? And it's like this, she was like 60 something years old and then she died.
And they show her a picture of her daughter, like as an old woman.
I
who,
remember
like, died.
that specifically.
And the picture they use is actually Sigourney Weaver's mom.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's
and so there's like this great moment where she's like really emotionally reacting to this. And but they take that out of the theatrical version, which means there's also a scene later where Newt asks her about if she has kids and what happened to them and stuff that they also take out of the theatrical version. According to Cameron, and this is, I'm sure a different story if Sigourney Weaver was on the commentary track. He said that at the time, Sigourney Weaver said that she didn't necessarily like that beat. So it's one of the ones they cut. And then he said in multiple interviews since then, she said that she was like, so horrified that they cut that part, and it was her favorite part, and it was the part that she based her entire performance around in this movie, and the reason she's so motivated to save Newt.
Yeah,
and he's like, well, she didn't say that at the time.
Yeah, it does make that connection, like that relationship, a lot more powerful.
It's her like essentially trying to save her own child,
right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
I think that comes through anyway. That's like clearly what you're on, but it definitely adds more stakes for Ripley if you're like, oh, well, she already missed her real daughter's entire life, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely came through. I thought it was interesting in the movie, like, especially with those plot points. And we've seen, like, I mean, there was the Wanda, Multiverse of Madness or whatever, poorly done, like, maternal instincts gone crazy.
I have to murder the world. I'm a mom.
Exactly. So, like,
that's how women speak.
It was just nice to see, like, oh,
that's a movie that came out in the last few months.
I know.
this has better fucking gender politics.
It was a very good, like she had that maternal drive, but she's still a badass. And then you have the character like Vasquez, who I don't think has a maternal drive, but was also very badass in a different feminine way.
Context.
Yes, different ways. Yeah.
And it was just a very interesting, like, there was this scene earlier where, like, does anybody ever mistake you for a man? She goes, no, do you? Like, I don't know. Everything was really well done. It just seems like James Cameron didn't get the memo the actresses did.
Well, if you look at his career, is always like strong women in his movies. Then they're badasses, both of Vasquez and Ripley, in different ways than Sarah Connor's a badass in the Terminator movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Natiri in the Avatar movies.
Yeah,
she's got the cool crossbow, or not the crossbow, the big long bow. She's impaling dudes on arrows and shit.
That's fair.
She's the one that kills Quaritch in Avatar 1, not Sully.
I just have a hard time saying good things about Avatar.
Really?
Best elevator hell. Oh no, it is now an elevator because she's gearing up.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
She's duct taping everything.
Yeah, Hicks gets the acid on him while they're getting into the first elevator of a few to come. That's a cool scene where the acid's like eating through his armor and stuff. And he gets back to the ship. She brings him back to the ship. Hicks brings it around. Not Hicks. Bishop brings it around. She leaves Hicks there. In the special edition, he goes, my name's Dwayne. She says, my name's Ellen. Hurry back, Ellen. And then she goes off. They go back into the main building where the lair is, and she descends, and you see just how far down she has to go. The tying into the first movie with the female voice being like, this whole place is going to explode in 30 seconds. And
The whole scene of her from that point of her going into the elevator and down is so it's just wicked badass. Everything she does in it is badass. When she's like loading the grenades into the gun, when she's duct taping everything,
grabbing the flares, the
whole
everything.
like the environment too, and like they don't have CGI available, but there's fire and explosions, and there's like lightning and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's like, this looks awesome.
They take a lot from like the first one with like the fog and the smoke and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then especially the shot that's so badass when she gets to the bottom and she's walking out of the elevator and the camera's like pulling in on her, and you're like, oh, it's a hero shot. I hope Sigourney Weaver was really happy with that one, because that's like the coolest anyone has ever looked in a movie.
Seriously. Yeah.
And she goes off. She goes like Supermom on it. Becomes an expert with all these weapons because of flirtatious gun tutorial that she received earlier in the film.
I was just saying, it's a good thing she learned how to use the grenades.
Yeah, see?
Again, everything matters in a James Cameron movie. It's all set up.
I mean, she did have the flamethrower practice though from the first one.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, yep. Good point.
It's cool when it shows her like switch on the flame and stuff.
Yeah.
It's good shit. And it's just her going down further and further. She finds the tracker is not on Newt anymore, but then the egg opens in front of Newt in the cocoon, and she starts screaming, and that brings Ripley to the rescue.
Yep.
Apparently, Sigourney Weaver actually messed up her hands because it's actual like fiberglass that she's tearing through, and so her hands get super cut up in this scene.
Ooh,
great.
Yeah, right.
I love the idea of digging somebody out of fiberglass.
Right? Yeah. It's like, you guys could have just done a different material.
Okay, now we're going to put this child in fiberglass, and you're going to dig them out.
It looks right, I guess. It looks
cool.
It looks cool. And so she picks up Newt. For a lot of the scenes where she's carrying Newt, they use a dummy because Sigourney Weaver's back was getting fucked up. And it's not like Newt's not like a small kid.
Oh no.
She's a tiny person, but she's
60, 70 pounds.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So this sometimes it's a dummy, but you can't really tell. And then they end up in the coolest scene in the movie that you didn't really know was leading up to, because they cut out the scene where Bill Paxton opines maybe they're like ants and maybe there's a queen. That's not in the theatrical version. So yeah, the queen. What a good puppet.
Yeah, she is gross looking.
It's wild that it's a puppet.
Yeah, a 14-foot tall puppet that they built. You can tell a couple times if you know where to look that there's like some strings and stuff, but I think it's like a whole team of people that are marionetting this thing, because it has all arms that they can articulate and all its mandibles, and I love that its teeth are translucent, unlike the metal ones that the warrior aliens have. The egg sac is real gross.
Oh God,
sucks.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's like, I don't think you can actually tell in the movie, but the first like egg that it drops out, a guy actually has to like push it through.
Oh God, that poor guy.
I don't think he actually had to like be in the egg tube. It's probably not that gross on the inside if he did, but there's actually like a human that has to push it out.
It's just funny because like we're talking about it as a puppet, we're talking about marionetting, all of that. But then as soon as you say there's a dude that has to push somebody out, like my head is like he's in like a sphincter. Like it's like wet inside, and he's like, this sucks. Like obviously
like it sounds gross, and it's like, well, it was probably like plastic and plexiglass.
Like it was not like, but hey, they did a good
just
job.
With the right lighting, looks like organic and wet, but yeah. And this is great.
We built this alien vagina. We need you to get in.
Is that what they used in Nope? It's the same one.
Must have been.
Yeah. I said, is that what they used in Nope?
Oh yeah.
You see Nope? Oh yeah.
Another great alien movie. Whatever.
Yeah.
You should have seen it by now if you didn't want to know there's
sorry.
an alien in it, right? Who cares?
I didn't get any nominations, huh?
0.
Nope.
Wow.
Cinematography is better than at least 3 of the cinematography nominees, but whatever.
talk about it on a different episode.
So now there's the understanding between the Queen and Ripley of like, hey, I'm gonna cook your kids.
Yep. And she sees the warriors coming in, and she's like, check this shit out.
And it's like, you may come after me, but I'll take all of these with you.
Yeah. And it's funny listening to the commentary because to me, it seems like they have an understanding.
Mhm.
But in the commentary, they're like, but as you can see, she doesn't actually make the warriors go all the way away. So that's why Ripley's like, well, fine then. And then she burns it. It's like, that seemed more spiteful to me.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
way more spiteful. I mean, I guess there was the warrior that was behind. So even if she didn't do anything,
Right.
it was still there. But
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it did seem like they reached an understanding, but I guess that wasn't actually the intention. I don't know.
Oh, I wouldn't. So, like, in any situation like that, it's always like whoever has an opportunity to murder the other one is going to take it. Like, I didn't assume they were backing off. I was like, oh, they're going to reposition and try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's probably fair too.
It's like they're just like, I don't know. It's the class. Any standoff, the villain's like, okay, good. And then it's always like a nudge, like, and they're flanking or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, she's outnumbered anyway, so she's got to make some move.
Yeah.
And yeah, this part's cool. She unleashes hell on these stupid aliens and their eggs.
The elevator finally got there.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you think about it in terms of like these are just organisms trying to survive and fulfill their basic functions of like reproducing or whatever.
no, they're a weapon.
Right. Yeah. Well, sure. Eventually it turns out, no, they were made by these white guys.
Yep. From the beginning
Not
of the
Caucasian,
universe.
like
Literally
pure white. But they're tall, so that's interesting.
They don't actually look like elephants. That's their mask.
And I like Prometheus, but it's still dumb.
Oh, yeah, no.
Anyway, so these aliens, they get cooked.
Okay, cooked.
But yeah, which is what I was saying is like, yeah, you do think like these people, they're just trying to survive. They're not like evil.
Yeah, just laying their eggs.
Yeah, they're just laying their eggs. They see the humans as a supply of,
Repopulation.
What's the word? Incubation, right? They're incubators basically. Yeah, so you kind of feel for him. I was like, man, that sucks. That lady went in there and burned all your kids. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Ripley she's running out of there. Stuff's exploding. The commentary is on the little girl at this point. She's like, this part sucks. They're just like explosions and like gas. They're just blowing into our faces as we're trying to run through.
Oh God.
Must be so interesting to remember making the movie from the perspective of a child, because obviously she's talking about it now as like an adult.
Yeah,
So like these are like just kid memories. You know what I mean?
She went on to have a normal life. She didn't really pursue acting professionally. So
Probably
this
because of
is
that
kinda it.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably the way to go. Because like you think of like the best, most effective kid performances in, even though this isn't like that much of a horror, but just to equate it with The Shining, both of the kid actors in those movies, like they don't really pursue acting as adults. I think the kid from The Shining is like a lawyer or something now.
Interesting.
Huh.
He has a cameo in Dr. Sleep though.
What gets me at this point though is for the elevator. It's like no one pressed the button at the top. So like it should just be waiting there for her. And I know it's the whole suspense of like the queen turns the corner and then it opens just in time.
Yeah.
But I was just like, why isn't it already there?
Yep. They call out the shot of the queen turning the corner specifically as and I should mention a bunch of crew members, including the alien effects guy, Stan Winston, is also on the commentary track. He said that specifically when Steven Spielberg's developing Jurassic Park, he's asking like, well, you made a big alien puppet. Why can't you make me a big T-Rex puppet? So yeah, this is the shot that's like, yeah, that thing like comes around the corner like that. And like, oh yeah, I can see why Steven Spielberg is like, yeah, we can do that. We can make dinosaurs do that. And yeah, the elevator stuff's good. I like that Bishop's not there when she gets back.
Yeah, because it's just her realization of like, oh, I've been betrayed again.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew he was going to do that.
She looks down the elevator shaft and sees it coming up. Even though when we've seen Ripley in there, we know that the queen shouldn't be able to fit in that elevator shaft. But you don't think about it. It's an action movie. It's fine.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. And thing comes up, but just in time, Bishop comes back. They get on board. They get out of there.
Perfectly safe.
Perfectly safe.
Nothing bad's gonna happen now.
No one checks the bottom.
I think
I
everything
do
as well.
like that from like the camera angle. You can't see it on
Yeah.
because it like hides in like the
Yeah.
the underbelly.
The wheel well or right or whatever. Yeah, good stuff. They use a lot of projection, rear projection imagery in this movie, and I think this is one of the times where everything's exploding around them and the miniatures like being floated out. Yeah, they get back to the Sulaco
Yes.
and everything's fine.
Yeah, and Ripley's like, "Hey, thanks for doing that."
Yeah,
And
you're okay, Bishop.
Yep, and then gets skewered.
Yeah, great effect where Lance Henriksen gets impaled and lifted and then torn in half.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah, it's great. And then they have like an old school, like, early horror movie gimmick where he's obviously just like standing under the set, but it has like the fake torso with all the milk coming out of it and whatnot. This whole sequence is awesome. It's a James Cameron movie, and he just wants a big robot to fight a big monster.
And that's what happens.
This time, the robot's one of the good guys. In Avatar, the robots are the bad guys.
I'm seeing how these universes come together now.
Yeah. There's big crab robots in the second one, too. You're going to love it.
So bay doors open.
Boom. Let's
Ripley's
go.
in the power
The
mech
loader.
Yep.
What did she say? We remember, right?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Wrong movie.
An even better.
Get
line.
away from her, you stupid bitch or something, right?
She just says bitch, but
okay.
like the idea. Oh, you stupid bitch. Like she couldn't think of the right word.
Most memorable badass line.
Yeah.
You stupid bitch.
Get away from me, you bitch. And then they fight. Big mech suit. There's a large Englishman inside the suit who's manipulating the arms and stuff.
Makes it way better.
Was he on the commentary?
No, I didn't have him on the commentary.
So the thing about being a giant mech suit is your mech suit.
That's all I have to add.
Yep. And so they do battle, as I guess is what I'm gonna say. And again, the problem solving. Ripley knows it's not like she's gonna punch this alien queen until she knocks her out. She gets her into the airlock. I like that she picks her up and throws her down it.
Yeah, it was like, well, it worked on the first one. It can work on the second one.
Yep. Pushes, it grabs onto her. She gets Gandalf down the pit with the demon. And yeah.
Yep.
She's got to climb back out. And of course, the thing that she needs to pull to open the hatch is right next to where she stops on the ladder.
Perfect.
It's perfect. And yeah, that's if you depressurize a spaceship, you can just hold on.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm pretty sure.
All the space stays in space.
The space stays in space.
And the inside stays inside.
You can keep breathing. You just got to climb a ladder out of it.
Doesn't she like wrap her?
Yeah.
She has like her arm
She
around it.
curls
Like,
it fully.
yeah, that
Really
wouldn't just
be
rip your
yes.
entire arm off.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then space is like negative 276 degrees
Okay.
Yeah.
Celsius.
So, yeah.
So
Right,
like,
you don't last.
Climate controlled inside.
Yeah. Just that space.
That's a hell of a climate control.
What does
It's,
get
it's
you
like
should
trying
see
to
the
heat
bill.
this. It's like trying to heat this apartment,
Oh,
right?
it's not that bad.
Yeah.
This is much worse.
what gets me is like the controls to open it are not the same controls to close it.
Those you have to climb up the ladder.
Yeah, it's inside of it.
The fact
Good
that
thing gravity stays constant.
it's good that
Yes.
that Bishop can still fully function to grab onto things.
Oh yeah, him just like
I mean,
using his arms to pull himself.
I do love when Newt is sliding away.
Oh no, it is
and
a
he
great
goes
scene.
and grabs her.
Yeah.
It is stupid, but it is awesome.
Yeah,
You can see like where Lance Henriksen's body actually is in that part, because it like he like goes like that, and the rest of the torso actually like lifts off the ground and stuff. It's so cool though. So who
Oh, yeah.
cares? And you don't actually see that because you're looking at his hands.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
not paying attention
hope
to
he
that in the
catches
scene.
Newt. Yeah, she climbs out. I always get worried after the alien queen gets shot out into space. I always get worried when she closes it at the top and she like doesn't move her leg right away. It's like, you got to move your leg. That's not going to stop. It's not like a garage door. It doesn't have a sensor to stop for your leg. I don't think.
Mm.
I mean, she moves her leg. It's not supposed to be a dramatic moment, but to me,
Just made
it's
you
what I'm
anxious.
thinking. Yeah, it made me personally anxious. Yeah.
I like to think that like space doesn't kill the aliens, and now she's just like floating around. And it's gonna like land at a planet.
I do think that they can live in like a vacuum.
It seems like they might be able to, right?
Yeah. They just don't necessarily have like a means to propulsion to get back to where she wants to
It's
go.
just gonna be like 1,000 years of the future, and she just comes in like a comet and lands on somebody's planet.
I'm assuming that someone grabs it
Mm.
like a salvage. Well, what is this? I can sell
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, probably.
So then you have the core four to actually stick together. They make it out of this one.
Yep.
She puts, assuming Michael Biehn doesn't wake up in between because they don't have like a cathartic moment together. He's just asleep in the pod.
Mm.
She has.
Oh yeah, because
there is a nice moment between her and Bishop.
yeah, because Bishop is like, oh, like I sedated him. Like we're gonna need a stretcher.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all get into sleep pods again.
Mm-hmm.
Credits.
So that's the end of the movie. You've seen the third one, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I can't remember. Like
They're all dead.
they're all dead, right? And the little
Ripley's
girl's alive though.
fine.
No, is she dead too?
Bishop is like destroyed and like trashed.
Yeah.
Biehn dies. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Newt dies too. Right.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Because like the ship crashes, right? Is that?
Yes, the ship crashes on the prison planet.
Yeah. Okay. The prison one is the third one.
Yep.
I haven't seen it, but I've only heard bad things about it, so I don't think
Oh.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the fourth one that doesn't exist.
This is true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember 3 too well, but I don't remember it being terribly awful.
Everyone dies besides Ripley because it turns out that there is a face hugger on board the Sulaco.
Of course.
So they get, automatically put into like an escape pod or something. And then it's the escape pod that crashes on the prison.
Oh, okay.
But only Ripley survives.
We'll say cryopod failure.
Yep. It's funny when you're hearing the commentary. James Cameron references many times that like, yeah, it really sucks what they did with the characters in Alien 3 because we made like this family unit. But then he's like, yeah, but Ridley Scott was probably mad at what I did to like the original text in Alien when he saw aliens. So maybe that's just how people feel. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, it's the, the shot that I think is just a still frame of Ripley and Newt asleep in the pods. And he's like, yeah, it's nice. We have like this bonded family and now they're going to be okay and they have each other. And then the commentary ends with him going, unless you kill all the characters.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, he said it's always about characters. All his movies are love stories. This one's about like familial love and yeah. Good. We kept it under 2 hours.
Nice. That's Aliens.
So what'd you guys think of Aliens?
Hated it.
Good movie.
Oh, I always enjoy them.
Yeah. I
They're
Yeah.
great.
It's a good one.
It scratches that particular itch.
It establishes, though I haven't seen Piranha 2, it establishes James Cameron's pattern of upping the stakes in a sequel by adding a kid. It's done it here, Terminator 2 and Avatar 2 now, where he had 5 kids.
Oh.
Man, they made that body good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just irresistible.
Oh no, I just mean like it's incredible that it's like biologically capable of producing
I thought you-
offspring. Also, he's hot
so
as hell.
hot.
Yeah,
He's so hot.
well, I mean that's the big takeaway. from
Everyone wants
Avatar.
his children. All right. So let's not dally too much and give this one on a scale of 0.5 to 5, on any scale of your choosing, you can go by halves. What would you give Aliens? I'll upload our scores to our Letterboxd. That's Late to the Movies on Letterboxd. It's the number 2. You can find it there. Whoever wants to jump in first, if you got a good scale, go for it.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I feel.
I'll give it 5 Bay 12s, please.
I like it.
I'm gonna give it 4 facehuggers.
Nice.
Alliteration.
I'll give it a saying that it probably isn't as good as the first, obviously, to me. But it still has stood well after all these years of not seeing it. I'd give it like a 4.5 androids or synthetics.
Well, I give the first one a 5, and I think this movie for me is I love the first movie and I love this one too. They're very different, so it's a very different tone of 5, but it is 5 express elevators to hell going down for me out of 5.
Hell yeah.
Good movie. Kicks ass. It's no, I wish I had an embarrassing 4.5 that you've given to
I was going to give it a 4.5, but I like the first one a lot better.
I probably like the first one better too, but as far as a movie that I want to watch and is successful at what it's doing, if you like kind of divorce it from how good the first one is, this is it's a 5 for me.
Ooh, I might be incapable
So
of
influential.
giving action movies a 5. It is the better of all action movies I've seen, but I just
probably the best action movie. For what it's trying to do, I think like the platonic ideal of this movie, that of whatever kind of aliens movie you could make if you're making an action movie. Robbie, you gave Heavyweights a 4.
Heavyweights is a good movie, though.
I haven't seen Heavyweights.
It's about as good as Aliens.
separate but equal.
Robbie, you gave... yeah, but that's a different kind of movie. You think that this is probably like the best action movie, though, right?
They didn't tell us how the aliens got their powers.
Not yet. Not yet. They will, though.
That's reasonable.
Yep, we're only like 7 movies away.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being on, Noah, Robbie, Will.
Thank you.
I mean, not to put you on the spot, but you normally acknowledges.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no
It's always a
problem.
pleasure.
I'll have to cut out all that dead air.
No,
Keep it.
You can email Noah at late2themovies@gmail.com. You can follow all our fun posters at late2themovies_podcast on Instagram. You can find the podcast if you didn't like the player you used it on today on Podbeans, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Google Podcasts. That's most of them, I think. Anyone you want to get it on, it's probably been stolen without my knowledge. TeePublic coming up for the Oscar season. I am going to make a new t-shirt design. I think it's going to be especially bad, so get excited.
Is it going to have Greg's face on it?
It might. I haven't decided yet.
I am excited to see the poster for this one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, same, actually.
You already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Usually there's like a bid or something, but we don't have any bids.
Oh, yeah, there's like a goodbye thing.
You're terminated, fucker. That's from the last one.
Hi, I'm Will, and I suck. Ends the podcast.
Yeah, I've heard tell.